right, everyone say hi to the viewing audience.
Hi.
Because that's just going to give everybody vertigo. All right. Where do we finish it? Did we get the species? Yeah. Oh, so species, it gets its value from what? It's coin, but where does the value come from? Yeah, the actual material in the coin, the gold. And then silver was about 1/20th approximate value. Silver didn't tarnish as much as copper or rust like lead, so they did have some value, but not as much. Gold was what they really wanted. So specie, so they would make different sized coins. More gold, the greater the value of the coin. So for example, a pound, they would make a pound coin in Britain. A pound, that was worth a pound. Don't think about units of measurement. They just said that's a pound. That's worth a pound of gold. And that's what eventually become their unit of exchange, pounds. Because of that, just from weighing the coin out. Now, currency, where does it get its value from? Say it again. Yeah, basically we accept that the government can tax, they can do these processes, and therefore, when it says a dollar, it's worth a dollar. Or if it says it's a yen, it's worth a yen, whatever country you're in. They create the currency. Now, if you can't tax, if governments can't collect taxes, if they can't pay back their debts, nobody trusts their money, and they get something called hyperinflation. Happened in Germany in 1923. It's happening right now in Argentina, where people don't trust the tax system. If the United States government quits collecting taxes, our entire economic system would collapse, and it would be hell on earth, unimaginable hell. I know no one likes to pay taxes, but my guess is hell is worse than taxes. Yeah.
It's not only that they're the economic power of the United States. If you this is an economy word of fall like that in the retro world, known as heavy.
Oh yeah.
Because depression at the least.
Yeah, it would be worldwide. Yeah, it would be that. So let's not do that. Huh? Everyone's when we play games, we're not paying our debts, and that's what it risks. So back to this. We got, what is the economic policy of colonialism? What is the name for it? The macroeconomic policy, yeah. Mercantilism, very good. And what is it called? Remember that term I gave you where there's only so much gold, or whatever the product might be? Oh. Yeah, zero sum. Yep, zero sum. And let's go back and review. Slave code said you're a slave as long, or your decision of whether or not a child is slave in bond, that means ownership, or free, is decided by what?
Mother's class.
Yeah, mother's servitude class. Yeah, whether or not they are free or slave. And what did they create out of that? What came out of that? Permanent slavery and slave codes. That's racism. That's what racism is. I gave you 4 different colonial areas. Here's the first one. What did I call this area here? What was these colonies called? I didn't name it that. I took the name. No, Mid-Atlantic's here. Here. Chesapeake. My finger on the Chesapeake. What's this one? New England, Mid-Atlantic. What's this? Yeah, slave empire. You might see them called like this, just southern colonies, but it was the whole system was based upon these massive slave labor camps that we call plantations. All right, we can't call plantation. All right, where are we at then? Let's get to, did we get mercantilism? We got specie, we got gold, we got taxation. We ended a currency?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we talk about taxes? Let's do taxes right now then. So if you want to accumulate gold, how do governments get money? Well, these are going to be, for the most part, private merchants, even though they're all operating under the rules created by government. Markets are created by government. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's actually a topic. I saw something like the United States is like an absolute reserve.
We do have,
like they just have a bunch of gold in case something happens.
basically, it's now just kind of remnants from when we used to back currency by gold. So we just still have the gold. So today, gold is nothing more of it's a commodity that people buy and sell. It has no real value except for people are willing to pay for that. The biggest gold reserve in the world is in the United States. Anybody know where?
Or not.
No. Good guess, but no. It's the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City. They have massive vaults full of gold. And if you're really nice, well, it's gold plated. No, it's massive vault. It's just all this gold sitting down there. It has no real purpose now, except for storage of people believe it's valuable. So they just
Do people buy it? People buy it.
Like, yeah, can I go to the bank and buy it?
no,
It's just there.
it's just there. It's just a reserve. But remember, gold is now just a commodity. It has no value except if we're willing to give money for it. It's not money. Gold is not money. I know people will potentially give you money for it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It just sits there. I know. It's massive. Fort Knox is the second biggest in the U.S. So let's get back to this. How do we get gold then as our unit of exchange? Taxation. So what happened is this. Let's say we have the first cities. The first city is like or Sumar in Mesopotamia, which is present-day Iraq. And they now want this to use to pay soldiers and use it as a unit of exchange. What they do is they collect taxes. They tax in gold. So they're telling everybody in the marketplace, you have to pay your taxes and we charge you in gold. They're telling everybody you have to pay taxes in gold. So if you have to pay your taxes in gold, if you are in the market and you're selling goods, what do you have to take for your goods? Gold, because you got to pay your taxes. Does everyone catch that? And so government will collect taxes in gold, and the government buys a lot of things, borrows money, they do everything in gold. Therefore, gold becomes the unit of exchange. And that's how currencies are made. Dollars are worth $1 because the United States government taxes in dollars and pays its debts in dollars. So now we accept dollars as money. So if you go to Japan, it's yen. You go to China, it's yuan. That's how it works. And so you got to tax to collect it. So that's what happened. And so that's mercantilism. They want to collect gold for the country through taxing gold. So they want British merchants to get rich off colonies and sell goods, and then they tax the merchants, collect gold. That's mercantilism. So it's all about taxing. Well, there could be another way. You can go invade somebody and take their gold, but that's actually really expensive and you might lose and they take your gold. So how do you accumulate gold in this pretty basic system, but it makes sense? There's like a logic to it. It doesn't work all that well, but there's a logic to it. You do it through trade, commerce. You make a commercial empire. Remember I said that commercial empire for the colonies. You do trade. Now, trade. Exports, imports. When I say that, do you know what that means? Do you want, in a mercantilistic country, more exports or more imports? I heard exports and imports. Okay, if it's imports, that means goods are coming in. So you're buying goods from merchants in other countries. How do you pay for these goods? Gold. And there goes your gold. Everyone catch that? Exports. You sell to them and they pay for it in gold and gold comes in. So you want to maximize exports. That's mercantilism. It's trade. So we get gold that way. Remember, there's a finite amount of gold. Oh, sure, you might luck out and you find a big gold mine. But maximize gold. So we have specie, we have currency, and this is what they want to do. They want to tax exports, pocket the gold, put it in the Bank of England, and the Bank of England issue a little piece of paper that says it's worth this much of gold. AKA, what do we call those little pieces of paper? Currency. That's currency. We promise, or another way to look at it is, this little piece of paper that says it's worth 1 pound in gold, pound, we promise we'll pay you. So currency is like little pieces of debt. We promise it's worth something, really. We promise. And we pay back our debts. That's the idea. Now, if you don't pay back your debts, no one will believe them. But if you pay back your debts, like the United States, they believe a dollar is worth a dollar. So, exports. Now, how do you maximize exports? Well, if you want to maximize exports, you want to sell things that people want. I mean, just imagine if you're going to make iron. What's more valuable? A big pile of iron ore, so a bunch of rocks that is, you know, kind of a combination of a bunch of different ores that you got to go through an entire technique to get iron, or pots, iron plating, or something you can make from iron, steel that's even stronger. What's more valuable, the goods or the raw materials? Yeah. Now this is still pre-industrial revolution, this is still pre-capitalism. But to maximize imports, you want to sell manufactured goods. Value added. So you could sell them for more than the raw materials. But let's say you're selling manufactured goods and you have to import all the raw materials. That the British became leaders in the ship industry, but they didn't have wood. Almost all the trees in England had been cut down by 1650. If you go to England today, and there's all these forests, every tree is exactly the equal distance apart because they were all planted after the 17th century. It's like that in most of the east of the United States too. Anyone know why they cut down all the trees? Yeah?
That's not when we're using wood to build infrastructure areas, but they're also exporting wood out of the country.
You know, that's a good guess, but no. And they also use it for raw materials for everything else too. But yeah, that was part of it. But for Britain, in England though, wood, you need wood, you need intense heat to make glass. Glass became the rage in the 1600s. It became like a real, I made it. I'm a big shot. I have a 8x8 glass window. Like, wow, am I cool? So they cut down all the trees to make glass. I don't know, it's kind of weird to think about, but glass? I mean, all those things were important, but glass was the biggie. But now they want to do shipbuilding. They need raw materials. So, that's where the colonies, that's where an empire comes in. Empire! Empire will give you raw materials. So, what's all over New England? Massive old growth trees. Perfect for shipping. Perfect. So they put all kinds of restrictions on that to make sure it's sent back to the United States. That's just one example. But you can think of so many other ones, everything from iron to fur to tobacco. All these raw materials they can use for other products. You refine tobacco, you make something called snuff, you can sell it to rich people to snort up their nose. Yeah, I know it's a terrible addictive drug, but they all did it. It became the thing. Raw materials. So everyone get that? Colonies. The empire, I forgot to write that. Those are the colonies. They provide the raw materials. Now, a couple more things about this. So we got the raw materials coming in. Remember, the whole reason, therefore, for empire in mercantilism is to accumulate gold. To accumulate gold. So what they did is this. When they went in there, they made sure that the colonies and all the raw materials, they could only trade with the mother country, MC, with Britain. They made sure that New England could only trade, especially the wide lumber they would get from the trees here, only with Britain. They couldn't even have it within the colonies. They had to trade it all to British merchants. They couldn't trade it to other colonies, or they couldn't trade it to France, French stores, or French merchants, or whatever. They had to trade with them. What happens to the price that colonists could get for raw materials if they could only trade to the mother country, Britain? It plummets, because there's no competition. So you think about it for a second. The colonists are making virtually no money from the raw materials. And then they turn around and make manufactured goods. So let's get back to the manufactured goods. If Britain is trying to maximize exports, anybody want to guess what France is doing at this time? Same thing. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. So Britain now is making manufactured goods, and they want to sell these goods. Well, they take these goods, and the colony and empire will provide one more thing. A captive market. Try that again. I miss chalkboards.
No, I think you should get a chalkboard.
I know. And just have a little one so I can just go like that. Actually, the fingernails work with chalk. It's so good. I miss those things. That could be a gift. I can replace this with a chalkboard. One more time. This is the honors class. Okay, so captive market. You make them buy only from Britain. So what kind of prices could Britain charge if the colonists can only buy from Britain? Huh? Yeah. So prices for raw materials are going to be low, and the prices for manufactured goods are going to be high in the colonies. Remember, the whole goal of the colonies is to suck the money out. So bargain basement prices for the raw materials, and then you suck back the rest of their money with the manufactured goods. And then they make sure that they can't make manufactured goods in their own country. I don't know why I break all my pins, but they can't make manufactured goods. Has everyone got that? So that's mercantilism. And the whole goal is to suck all the wealth out of the colonies. Who knows this is going on? Colonists. They went there for various reasons. You know, a lot of them thought they were going to get rich, those dandies, and thought they'll be becoming English gentlemen. But the biggie, think about all those indentured servants. They came there with nothing, and they finally get that head right, and at their point of view, that little bit of liberty, their rights as Englishmen. And what's happening? Everything's being sucked out of their hands. Everything's just being taken away. They're furious about it. The reason for the American Revolution was mercantilism. That's the reason. It's mercantilism. So, what does an empire do? They go and they take areas, and then they suck all the wealth out. And what do they leave in their wake? There's a reason why Africa is so poor. It's colonized, the wealth was sucked out, and then they turned around and said, okay, you're free now, good luck. That's what happened. Montana's like that. Montana was a colony. Montana was a territory, it was a colony. And Montana's an extraction state. So they came in and they took wealth out of the state and left. We have a city that's a classic example of colonization. A city in Montana, you can go look, that's what Britain tried to do, that's what empires do. Anybody know what city I'm talking about? Butte. Butte used to be 120,000 people. It's a big ghost town. And what is it? It's ruin. They got this massive hole where they just dug out all the wealth and left this toxic waste dump. That's colonization. And the colonists don't want this to happen. All right, so with that, where are we at? That's important. All right, so let me give you one more example. Anybody wearing jeans? Denim? Denim, denim. Anybody else? Denim. Anybody else? Denim. No. Denim, denim. Oh, very good. Where does denim come from? What country? What area? Now it's country. Yeah. Close. Very close.
Cambodia.
I heard now people are just naming countries in that area. Close. India. So when Britain conquered that, they had all these amazing textile techniques in India. Great trade. There were great traders all over the Indian and Eastern Pacific. They traded. So they took these techniques how to make denim. They brought it back to England and started manufacturing it. And then what did they do to the denim and other textile industry in India? Shut it all down. They said you can no longer produce your own. You have to buy from Britain and pay huge taxes. Crushed it, just squeezed it. And that's what happened in India. So when I say Gandhi, do you know who Gandhi is?
Yeah.
How did Gandhi dress? He
Just never wrote.
Yeah, it's not tradition. Everyone thinks, oh, he's using traditional Indian. I have heard people say that traditional Indian garb to protest the English. No, that's not why he's wearing that. He made it himself. He's protesting these mercantile restrictions on manufactured goods by saying, you stole these techniques from us and we're going to make it here. So that's a massive protest against British. Now we're getting to Britain. So British law. That's what he's doing. All the fights over the American Revolution were fights over mercantilism. So these kind of economic issues are important. Anybody know a country today that's very mercantilistic? Yeah?
I saw a lot of like our cars carrying machines like that right up.
China. Did you say China too?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry. So we had a couple of times. China, all they care about is exports. And they try to maximize exports. I should add that does lead to an unstable economy, and the Chinese economy is literally teetering on the edge. They are like desperately trying to cut the price of their goods so they can get more exports. I mean, they're really in bad economic shape. It could be a little problematic if the Chinese government collapses. As in bad. Back to this. So what did Britain do? By the way, I found out something. So someone gave me this little rag, to erase, and I put it up there. It's got metal in it. Like a piece of metal. Well, I don't know how magnetic it is.
Wow.
Did I just blow all of you away? I had no idea. See, you can continue to learn every day of your life. Right? Notch that off for education. Okay. What did Britain do? So British policy mercantilism. I laid this all out. Remember, it's all about taxation. So in the 1650s, they passed a series of laws. Actually, this is after the king was executed, and they created a republic called the Commonwealth. And I should add, I know all of you are writing your own notes, you have your own shorthand. But if you just write one or two words that I put on the board, when you go back in a week and a half and look at what you wrote, there's a very good chance you have no idea what you were talking about. And I can remember lists of things too. But I don't care about lists. For my test, you got to know your stuff. My tests are hard. I'm just warning, you want hard tests, don't you? Okay, you might not actually admit it, but yeah, don't you want to, intrinsically, you want to improve your intelligence? You do. Even if you always just want to get A's, right? I know we all want to get A's and do well, but you also want to say, hey, I know this. So don't just write down the words I write down or the words I have in the PowerPoint. You got to add a little bit. It's your shorthand. Figure it out for yourself, but add, So 1650s. They passed a series of laws called the Trade and Navigation Acts. So I'll put down the Navigation Act. Sometimes I'll refer to it as the Trade and Navigation Acts. It's actually a number of laws, but we have to get down 3. And they were all designed to take advantage of their colonies. And it was a way they could enforce, they thought. So the first one's very basic. They called it an impost tax. Today we would call it a tariff. And that's a tax on imports. So you put a tax on goods being shipped in by merchants from other countries, like from France. You make them pay a tax. If these companies have to pay a tax, what do they do to the price of their goods and then they try to sell? Tariffs raise prices. Tariffs raise prices. Now, they call them imposts. By the 1790s, they're tariffs. We'll come back to that in just one second. Next, another kind of tax, it's called an excise tax. And that's a tax domestic producers pay. Like those who grow tobacco, they have to pay a tax. Yes, that will raise the price of it, but they pay a tax. We pay excise taxes all the time. You buy a gallon of gas, you're paying 70 cents excise tax. They just add it to the price. So you look at the price of the gas, and 70 cents of that is tax. Some states are more. Like alcohol is $2 a tax. Cigarettes are like $4. Don't do either. Moving on. Here's my public service announcement, right? They put it on commodities. Commodities are any goods you buy or sell. And think about the big commodities that they were producing in the colonies. They put a tax on tobacco so they could get the wealth from tobacco. They put a tax on wood products so they could get the money on that, etc. So they had a list of commodities and they put a tax on it so they could collect the tax. And then lastly, let me put it up here so I don't have to bend, because I'm getting old. Lastly, the colonies must ship all goods, I'm putting arrows for shipping, all goods on British ships. So the British ships will collect the tax. But that also gives the British ships a monopoly of sale, and so they can charge more, and therefore more money to tax. You get the point, it's all to suck the money, the wealth out of the colonies. So, Navigation Acts. Tariff, here's the biggie. The excise tax and the shipping. They're going to try to figure out ways to get this done all the way up to the American Revolution. It'll be them trying to figure out how to do the Navigation Acts, especially these taxes that will directly lead to things like the Boston Tea Party. Directly. Anger over this. It wasn't so much the tax. It was the way it was administered and what that meant. I'll explain that more later next week. So, a couple more things. Started here, but we'll go for 70 years. A series of laws that were passed, like the Hat Act, the Woolen Act, that's supposed to be oaths. Other acts, Iron Act, the Molasses Act, don't produce hats. So they said, can't produce hats in the colonies, therefore they have to buy British hats, and therefore the price goes up. You can't produce woolen textiles. Can't produce iron. There are other ones too. Molasses is one of the most important. Okay, molasses. You take sugar from sugar cane. It's a refining process to come up with this kind of brown sludge that's easier to ship. A little bitter, but it's sweet, and you can ship it. Sugar's hard to ship. So molasses is much easier to ship, especially back then. What do you make out of molasses? You can't make cookies. We all like cookies, but probably not a huge export trade. Even though I like molasses cookies, they're pretty good. Anyone know? Yeah? Alcohol? Yes. Rum. Rum is made from molasses. Rum was big business. So everyone got that? Rum. Now, we got all these laws. Last couple things in for today. Okay, I gotta remember to go down. Okay, this is correct. Trying to keep track of things in my head. Salutary neglect would be the name to what happened here. Because here's the issue about salutary neglect. Britain could not enforce the Navigation Acts. They could pass the laws, but they couldn't enforce them. There were no British troops in the colonies. They had to rely on militia. So there's no one to enforce the law. And if I say police forces did not exist yet. That was unheard of. There might have been people who administered area for the crown or for their noblemen. And they had like the force to, they could enforce laws, but they didn't exist there. You might have heard people like that called sheriffs. They enforced the land for their noblemen. Let's be style sheriffs today, that's where it comes from. But there's no police force, there's no one enforcing the law. Salutary neglect was meant that neglected mean they couldn't enforce it. And there are three reasons why Britain could not enforce the law. So everyone got salutary neglect, they could not enforce it. Number one, it's too far away. Yeah, sure, pass your law. We don't care. Pass your law in London. We're in Boston. What do I care? Number two, Britain's at war the whole time with France. They need colonial militia. And they're distracted. The whole time, basically, they're at war. France is the biggest enemy, but also Spain and others. And lastly, the colonists ignored it. Colonists went there to start their plantation, to become an English country gentleman. Or these indentured servants who went there to be free, to have liberty. They didn't come there for this, so hey, nice law, we don't care. And so everyone just avoided the law. Anybody know what salutary means? Have anyone ever heard the term salutations? Yeah, what does that mean?
I heard it in English.
Hmm?
In English class.
When you finish a letter,
Yeah.
good wishes. Salutary means, ironically, this neglect had good or positive results for some. It allowed the colonies to develop their own unique economy. Because they would do some production. They would ship. They would sell to other colonies or other countries. And if the colonies got richer because of doing that, British merchants got richer. It actually turned out that the strict rules of mercantilism actually infringed on trade and creativity. But Britain didn't care. They want the gold. What's going to happen? In 1763, and we're going to start this tomorrow, wars. And when France will be defeated in 1763, that's when they decide we're going to enforce the Navigation Acts. 1763, 12 years later, the American Revolution began. It's no coincidence. So this is the economic policy, and this is a big deal. And I don't want to get out of whack on my other classes, so we're stopping right there. You have homework? Sound good? What do we have to cheer for tonight? Even if you don't want them to win, you have to act like you do tomorrow.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Boy, okay, I'll be ready for a surprise quiz tomorrow.
If they lose, no quiz.
If the Ravens lose,
No, the Chiefs lose.
if the Chiefs lose, you'll be punished. I think that's fair.
So, oh wait,
Are you really a Ravens fan?
My dad's a football.
Oh, okay, so yeah. My dad was a Chief fan. That's how come I am. I blame my father. In fact, I just talked to him last night. It's just
What if the Chiefs win?
oh, then it's just being normal. Okay, next time don't do this in class, okay? I won't take it. I'll throw it away. I'm going to Philadelphia in.
I lived in for a while.
You did?
Yeah, I moved here last summer.
So you lived in Philadelphia? How long did you live in Philadelphia? To win? Oh, okay. Oh, so yeah, most of your life. Slightly different culturally here. Hamlet's got the great part. It is a little, when you're in a big city, but it's like. Huh?
But I could eat anything because I have a salad in it.
I really like Philadelphia. I think it's cool.
Yes.
Huh? Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cheese, and they're good for you. Yeah, so my nephew's going to graduate school. Yeah.
Steaks.
So we're going to see him and do a couple of
Yeah.
Everyone, oh, wait. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Everyone pick up this.
I know.
Yes, I'll let you stand up. No, you can't go by the door. That's all I ask. But if I give you a minute, you can stand because you've been sitting. I don't mind that.
So for the stuff next week, should I just look at the videos
Yeah.
online?
Look at the videos online. We're going to finish chapter 4. I haven't decided. Oh, and the map. You know that map, and that'll be doing when you get back. There's a lot of notes. One of those days, we're going to watch the first video that's in that packet. And I do have it on YouTube, so I'll post a copy of that to you.
So
Are we fighting? Are you guys brawling? Yes. Okay, we're going to circle the desk.
he doesn't have a past. And then we have like
And you take advantage of that, right? You're a good friend.
20 people.
Oh! Everyone say goodbye.
Bye.